Brother, it is so good to see you. But my first question is, you and I met way back in the Canadian Idol days, and you were, I consider, and I say this with respect, so young, innocent, and just get your voice out there and getting the world to get to know you. I see you now. You look like a legit badass who could put a beating on somebody. I mean,
That's
man,
amazing. I'll take
that
it.
the look is incredible. No, seriously, man, you look like you should be bouncing somewhere, at one of the clubs or whatever. Man, I love this. Look how did this look evolve from Mr. Innocent to Mr. Badass?
You know what? I just feel like it's been uh, a workshop in authenticity, really. Kind of just learning to who I am and who I've always been, and having the courage and the confidence to kind of show that a little bit more, and getting to the point that, yeah, I feel like there's a lot of freedom in knowing who you are, and not really, giving a shit too much what other people have to say. So I guess that's where it stemmed from.
I
Thank
love
you for
it, man.
noticing.
No, are you kidding me? I should have brought it with me. And maybe next time when we talk, I will. I actually have a Canadian Idol poster of the winners, and I think it's like the top two or three on it. Never got
Okay.
rid of it. Still have it. One of these days, I said I gotta frame it. I wished that I
Yeah.
had it when I had it to get it all like signed and whatever else. But do you ever like think about those days? Every once in a while. Do you ever think about it?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's hard not to. That experience was such a whirlwind for me, and it came at such a pivotal time in my life. Like I had come out to my parents just a couple months before, but really, like I kind of came out at large on the show. Accidentally kind of just came out and told a country all at once. So yeah, it was part of a very kind of formative, pivotal part in my personal growth. So anything even outside of career or professionally, it was just such a moment in my life. So yeah, I reflect on it with mostly positive memories for sure.
But you came in also in a weird time for the music industry. Bigger
Hmm.
companies were buying out smaller companies. We did have a lot of these type of shows where artists like yourselves were going to be showcased on stage, but it was a limited time for those things. We were still feeling the blunt of Napster. Um, the music itself was changing, from, if you want to say, boy bands, for pop, for Canadian artists, like so many things were changing. As somebody who was trying to navigate through all this as a quote unquote new artist, what was that like for you to reach where you are today?
uh, I mean, the first, I would say, 2 years post Idol was unbelievably challenging, because I felt like I was in almost an arranged marriage of sorts with my label. Like I was signed to Sony. They had kind of picked up the first six winners of the show. I was lucky number six. So contractually, they were obligated to work with me. I was contractually obligated to work with them, and it just wasn't. It wasn't the type of relationship that cultivated a lot of creativity or a lot of creative freedom in the way that I feel like every artist wants, but especially a new artist, as you're trying to kind of put your stamp on what people can expect from you. And I find, coming from a show like Idol, where obviously every song that you're doing is a cover song, you're not singing your originals. I knew that this debut album really kind of had to stand for something, and I knew what I wanted that to look like. The label, I think, had a different idea of what they wanted to look like. Management had a different idea of what they wanted it to look like. So I feel like there was maybe a little more compromise than I necessarily would have liked in that first album. Um, but I mean, as soon as I left my management and was able to negotiate myself out of my deal with Sony, I kind of hit the ground running. And that's when I really started to kind of surround myself with a team of people that I was just like, if there is any cachet, any momentum left in this Canadian Idol thing, like I got to move now.
Yeah.
But I also feel like I was 23 when I was on the show, so I was young, but I definitely wasn't young as some of them. Like I know that Melissa O'Neill, when she won, she was only 16, you know? So I feel like I still had maybe a bit less naivety. I knew that that show was going to take me so far, and then I really had to kind of dig in and do the work and try to still get my foot into doors. You know, like you know probably better than anyone in media that those shows are a very double-edged sword. Like they get your
Yeah.
foot in the door, but what they don't tell you is that there is a lot of people on that side of the door who are trying to get your foot out of it. You know, they're saying like you don't belong, you're just a talent show winner. So I kind of knew that going in, that like I was going to be in the business of proving people wrong. And 16 years later, sometimes I still feel like I'm in the business of proving people wrong, but I feel like that also is just the plight of an artist. I feel like you're constantly kind of trying to have to prove yourself these days more than ever.
How did COVID change? Because I think that was one of the last times you and I spoke was just in the beginning of COVID, because I remember I was just learning. I think yeah, we did it as a Zoom interview. And I remember doing it outside my backyard because again, I wasn't sure how this stuff was done. And I think you had just got married or you were getting married or it was something like that, but it was
Yeah,
crazy.
I had just gotten engaged maybe a few
Engaged.
months
Okay.
prior. Yeah, but it is interesting that you bring up that interview because that was the last time that we spoke, and that was kind of so much has changed since then. I mean, when you and I spoke last, I was kind of at the height of my drinking. That's when I was still really, really hitting the
Oh,
bottle
wow.
hard. And I think it was maybe 5 or 6 months after we last spoke that I had my last drink and I finally got my shit together and got sober. Um, Thank you. Yeah, almost over 3.5 years now, which is insane to think back that it's already been that long. But so yeah, I remember that well. I think I was like disastrously hungover that interview. So I'm glad to be coming at you with more clarity today.
Well, I've always been a big supporter of yours, and because you are such a great talent, and you have a great story that you provide for all of us, and for people who think, maybe I can't do this, and somehow, man, you just keep chugging and chugging, and you give back, and that's a lot to do with what we are going to talk about right now, because you have put together a very special project, and of course, we are celebrating Pride Month as we speak. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Something really cool. What is going on? Something hasn't been done in a while because back in the 80s and 90s, there were a lot of people doing these kind of projects. So it's
Right.
nice to see it coming back.
Yeah. I mean, I had kind of had this idea. So the song is called This Little Light. I wrote it last winter. So probably, yeah, February of 2023, with a couple really good friends of mine, Andrew Martino and Liz Rodriguez, who are just wonderful people, incredible songwriters. And I had recently posted a video of me singing a song to my fiance, and we were both just sitting in the front seat of the vehicle. I was singing a song to him, and it kind of went viral for all of the reasons that like you never want something to go viral. Like it, I was just being inundated with the worst kind of homophobic comments, and
Oh,
I mean, it went as far as there was elements of stalking involved and death threats, and it was wild, and it lasted for I would say 10 weeks to 3 months, just every single day, more comments, more DMs, and I remember going into the studio and saying to Marty and Liz, I said like I want to write a song in response to this. I'm not sure what that's going to look like, but I said I think the thing that was so jarring to me outside of just the hateful rhetoric was when you clicked on these people's profiles. So many of them had, you know, a little Christian cross in their profile or their favorite Bible verse. And I was like, it was so wild to me because I was raised Christian. I still, in some ways, consider myself a Christian. So those things were just so, they didn't coexist to me. Like, how can you be preaching, this God of love and acceptance and forgiveness and all of these wonderful things, and then be so bigoted and so hateful? So that's kind of where we took the idea of This Little Light of Mine, which was a song written in the 1920s. But I think what a lot of people didn't know, myself included, is that This Little Light of Mine, the song that we all know, really started to get traction in the southern states in the 40s and the 50s during
Yep.
kind of the civil rights movement. So that song
Yes.
has always, which is so, it was so fascinating to me, even something that I didn't know. And I was like, that's kind of when I knew that we were onto something, because I was like, this song has always had a political undertone to it. Um, and I said, what better way for us as a group of queer artists from across Canada, coast to coast, to kind of take that power back and take the narrative back. So yeah, as we were writing it, I even said, to Marty and Liz, I said, this feels bigger. This, I don't think, is just mine. This is not a solo song. I feel like we should comb through the fabric of the indie music scene in Canada, put the invite out to as many as we can get. And in my head, originally, I was just like, I hope that we get, six to eight people. I was like, that would be a nice number. And then all of a sudden, we were just getting, yeses from these artists that I love and have admired for years: Tafari, Anthony, Rylan James, Ralph, Priyanka. And I was just like, whoa, like this is just very naturally and organically becoming something so much bigger than I anticipated, and ended up being 22 voices. Um, the song came out June 4th, and the amount of love that we have received on this song has been so overwhelming. And it's also ruffled some feathers, and it's sparked some conversation, and it's, sparked an important dialogue of why there is such a ditch between God and gay. And I feel like this this song perhaps is, an attempt at maybe building a bridge between those two things.
You're a brave man, and congratulations for bringing these folks together. What was it like to have all of these amazing artists just mingling around, doing their parts? Like we now get to see these documentaries, like we saw for live, not Live Aid. Well, I'm thinking of one with
We Are the
Lionel Richie and
World.
Michael Jackson. We Are the World. When we see
That's
these
right.
things, and we've seen documentaries with Tears Are Not Enough when it was done. I think it was back in the '90s. What was it like for you guys to have your own kind of circle where the talking, the I'm gonna sing this part. No, you
Right.
gotta sing it like this. What was that feeling like?
Correct.
And just really looking around going, damn, I'm with some superstars around here.
Yeah, I mean, it was an incredible experience. It's really hard to put into words, especially because, as far as I know, and from what, like, the research that we could do in kind of, Google being our best friend, this has never been done before. It has never been done with a collective of queer artists. This is the first time, which I think speaks volumes to Canada in and of
Mm.
itself. The fact that this was able to happen here, for the first time as a big collective of queer artists coming together for a cause, I feel like that's just such a special thing. Um, but I definitely had some nerves going into the first couple recording sessions, being like, I just hope that, like, this comes together in a way that we all want to serve the song and serve the message rather than serve our own egos, myself
Yes.
included. I feel like when you have 22 artists come onto one track, and we all have, our own kind of solo careers and our own things going on in our own right. So I wasn't sure what that was going to look like. And I was just so pleasantly surprised and so blessed to see everyone come in and just leave their ego at the door. And everyone kind of came in with just, where do you want me? Where do you feel like I'm going to be best placed? I think the tricky thing is that once we got everyone on the microphone and heard how they were kind of bringing their own energy and their own story to the song, no matter where we thought we were going to place them, we were like, oh, but I really now I want to hear you sing this part, and now I want to hear you sing this part. And it was so we thought we were going to have each vocalist in and out in 45 minutes. And I think it was closer to a couple hours just because we just wanted to kind of get everything that we could from them. But I mean, it also speaks volumes of Marty, the producer. You know, like it's one thing for me to kind of be in the room and try to guide where we think things are going to be, but to be a producer to have to find a way to get 22 different voices on a 4 minute song, you know, that really is his magic. And you know, he just did such a wonderful job at kind of showcasing everyone um, in a way that, yeah, like I said, really just served the song and served the message of what we were trying to say.
Now the song goes even further because it's raising money for something, correct?
Yeah, so it is a charity single. All of the money goes to the 519 Community Center, which is just a wonderful community center right downtown Toronto in the heart of the village. And for those, because I know that this is going to reach people that aren't from Toronto, for those of you that don't know, the 519, when I say community center, I mean that is in its simplest form, yes, but it is unreal because these are people that are on the ground. They are literally out on the streets, literally working face to face with members of the community. Specifically, the proceeds of this song go to the 519's Pay It No Mind Fund, which is giving and providing essentials and essential services, whether that's food, toiletries, housing for trans and non binary people. And I've said this before. I said the fact that we even have to have a charity that is providing essentials
Yeah.
to people proves that like this is a sector of the LGBTQ community that is struggling and that is so under attack and that is not being supported in the way that people should be supported. You know, and I have said from day one that I am very willing to have any type of debate that you would like, any type of logical conversation that you would like. But at the end of the day, trans and non binaries people's right to exist safely is not up for debate. And I think that that's what this comes down to.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Please tell me this has been filmed. The you guys recording that maybe sometime I could be over at TIFF and I could be seeing the documentary behind this. Please tell me this stuff was filmed.
Right. We do have a lot of footage
Good.
from the recording sessions. It was tricky because I would say over half of the artists on this song had to record remotely. Like we had people recording from Saskatchewan and from Vancouver, from Halifax, just sending in their vocals. But I think the exciting thing is that since the song has been released, we've probably had, you know, a couple dozen artists, queer artists from across Canada being like, are you guys going to do this again next year? Because I would love to be involved. And that's what's exciting, you know, is the fact that this potentially could be something that is recurring, you know, targeting, you know, a new charity each year. And yeah, just growing our presence as the Rainbow Collective. And maybe some members will go and some will come in, and it'll kind of be this you know, very transient group of artists that I hope will continue to not only make good music and be activists in our solo careers, but as the collective.
And you thought maybe doing a holiday charity song, bringing everybody
That's a great
together.
idea. Listen, you know me, I love Christmas. So anytime that there is a chance to do anything around the holidays, I am in. That's a wonderful idea. I'm going to get on it right after this call. Start putting out the feelers for a Christmas single.
I love it. As we speak, any plans on any shows during Pride? And let's look at me. I'm doing this. Um, any shows going on with Pride? And also, you're going to be there at the parade.
You know what? I actually am most likely going to be out of town. Unfortunately, I will be with my husband and my dogs and probably my in-laws there in Ottawa. So as much as I would like to be, I kind of spend the majority of my summers writing. Um,
Hmm.
I'm trying to kind of get all of my music organized for 2025, and I have big plans for next year. I'm also working on a anthology of poetry.
Oh, cool.
So I kind of need to use this time to, I think Pride looks very different for everyone, and for
Yeah.
some, it is obviously a huge chance to kind of go out and celebrate and be seen, and I love that. I feel like there's something so special in that for me, especially this year, considering the release of this song. Like I just want to stay close to my family and just kind of reflect, like I said, with this journey of sobriety over the last several years. I feel like I finally have gotten to the point that I just look in the mirror and I'm so proud of the man that I've become and the man that I'm becoming. And so I just want to take a couple weeks, just take a small moment to just reflect on that and yeah, just enjoy a pause.
You deserve it. Congratulations on the
Thank you.
single. Congratulations on
Thank
three
you.
years sober. Love it.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
just thank you for allowing me to chronicle your journey from the first time we met to today, because that time has so flown. But it's always incredible
Unreal.
talking to you. Say hello to your husband for me. I hope you have a great time with the
I will.
family, and
Thank you.
always blessings, my friend. Thank you so much.
It is always such a pleasure speaking with you. You have been just such an anchor of support from the very, very beginning, day one of my career, and I appreciate you.